Okay. Hey everyone, so we're going to get started in today's 45-minute yoga class. There's no equipment needed for today's class, you just need yourself, and if you have a mat, that's great, although just a comfortable floor space to practice on will work as well. Take a quick look around you before you get started, make sure that your space is free of any hazards that you can trip over, make sure that you can't bump into anything, and during class, always make sure to take breaks as needed. Go at your own pace. If at any point you feel any type of faintness, dizziness, or shortness of breath, you know your body best, so please stop exercising. So I had an interesting idea. So I thought that I'd make a focus over the next few weeks, kind of line up for every Thursday. And just because of the seasonal changes, I thought it'd be a nice little option to have. So I thought I'd do kind of like a chakra sequence over the course of the weeks. So we would obviously start with what's known as the base chakra and kind of work our way up as the weeks go on. So that would mean that today we would be focusing on the root chakra. And when we focus on the root chakra, the designated spot for it is in the pelvis, so our hip area. So a lot of movements with the hips will come through today. Hello, let me just pin the screen. So if you're just tuning in now, I was just basically saying that for the next 7 weeks, we're kind of going to be focusing on chakras. Just because of the seasonal changes, I thought it'd be a good option. So for today, we'll start off with the root chakra and kind of work our way up every Tuesday. So for today, it'll be a lot of hip movements. And the pace of the chakra class in terms of the sequencing will be a little bit more slower paced. So we'll be holding the postures a little bit longer, kind of to sync our breath with the movement when we're holding it. And when we associate our movements with the root chakra, we want to emphasize on colors as well. If you work well with imagery, you can kind of imagine the color red, and I'll cue you through that when we go through the postures. If not, just focusing on your breath and being in the posture is a great start. So let's get started. I'm gonna make my way to my mat. And we're actually gonna start off in child's pose. So we're gonna come with knees wide apart, probably as wide as your mat, for just enough room for your torso to lay in between your thighs. And you're gonna come down and bring the arms nice and out in front of you, fingertips facing the front room. I'm gonna keep my head slightly elevated so that you can still hear me. Although for yourself, if it's available to you, you would bring your forehead down to your mat. And just kind of settle into the space for a few breaths. You can allow your eyes to close if you'd like. Kind of just letting gravity soften the body towards the earth with every exhale. Begin to notice the parts of your body that are supported by the earth beneath you. So notice your fingertips, the palm of your hands and your forearms. Maybe your upper chest is resting towards the earth. Notice the shins and the knees, all the way to the tops of your feet. Maybe in the next few breaths, you begin to notice how the breath moves on the back body. Notice how the rib cage expands with every inhale and falls back to the center or the midline of the body. Begin to draw your awareness towards your spine. And begin to focus that awareness towards the tailbone or the low back. And in the next couple exhales, maybe you imagine that the glutes or the hips get closer to the heels. And you can use the arms as leverage here to very slowly guide the hips closer to the heels. Maybe one day touching the heels at the end. And then on your next inhale, you're going to slowly press through the palms and rock yourself forward to a tabletop position. You're going to bring a little movement to the spine before we get into the hips. So we're going to do a few rounds of cat-cow, just to flow through our spine and get a little bit more mobile. So you can have the tops of the feet curled or the tops of the feet flat on the mat. And then from here, we're just going to begin to curl the tailbone up towards the sky as the belly and pelvis draw down. Heart shines forward, and then maybe you look forward or slightly up. Press through the palms and the fingertips here, 10 fingertips spread nice and wide. And then full inhale, and then as you exhale, you'll tuck the chin into the chest and very slowly begin to articulate the spine, creating a rainbow-like shape with the back of the spine, arcing it up to the sky. Pelvis draws slightly forward at the end. Hold here, full cycle of breath. And then we'll do 2 more rounds. I'll give you your own little time to do your personal freestyle, so kind of going at your own pace, syncing it with your own breath, and maybe even including some more dynamic movements, so creating to do figure 8s with the body, maybe one way and then the other. One more breath here. And then when you're ready, we'll meet in cat pose, so our spine arcing up towards the sky. Really press through the palms here. Feel the shoulder blades expand. Continue to breathe here in and out through the nose. And then with every exhale, actively draw the abdomen in. So the belly button draws in towards the back body. And then slowly, very gently begin to curl the back of the toes if they're not already curled. Lift through the knees and find downward facing dog. So feel free to pedal out the feet here. Shake the head yes, shake the head no. Again, still doing your own little freestyle, seeing how the body feels. If you'd like, for the first couple times in your downward facing dog, you can bring the feet wider apart or the hands wider apart and see how that feels. Perhaps making a slight intention that over time, the feet will come closer together. Take another full cycle of breath here. Deep inhale through the nose, deep exhale. And then on your next inhale, you're going to look forward in between the palms and then slowly walk both feet forward, coming into your forward fold. In your forward fold, your head will hang heavy, the neck is back nice and long. And you can grab onto opposite elbows here. Just kind of ragdoll it out, shake from side to side. Head still hanging heavy. And then very slowly begin to curl the spine one at a time, making your way to standing, chin coming up last. So find a nice equal standing posture. Notice Samasthiti, so all 4 edges of both feet are rooted, kneecaps are lifted, so the thighs are nice and engaged. Arms to either side, fingertips rooting down. And then allow the eyes to close here, just for a moment of stillness. Begin to draw your awareness towards the pelvis. Maybe you place your hands just below the belly button. Take a couple breaths here, breathing in and out through the nose. And then again, if you're an imaginary person, you can picture colors or things in your mind's eye. Begin to imagine the color red just below the belly button. Take a couple breaths here, maybe even imagining that your breath was going to that center space. One more deep inhale and even deeper exhale, slowly opening up the eyes and arms coming to either side. And take a nice deep inhale, lift both arms overhead, maybe the palms touch and you look up. And then exhale, hinge from the hips, fold forward, allow the head to hang heavy. From here, you're going to inhale halfway up, hands come to the shins, crown of the head reaches forward. Exhale, plant the palms, and we're going to step the right foot back and come into a low lunge. So in our low lunge here, again, you can have the tops of the feet rooted on your mat, or you can have the toes curled, whatever feels better for you and brings more balance to your body. Then from here, you'll bring the hands to the hips and begin to lengthen the torso up to the sky. So you come into your full low lunge position. So from here, we're going to be here for a few breaths. So find a stability and balance that works for you. So you can bring the left foot further out to create a wider stance for the hips. Or you can bring it closer to the midline and see how that works for you. And whatever foot position you're choosing, we're going to aim to have the toes facing forward and the knee facing forward. So in Angeli Asana, low lunge, what we do is you can over time allow the pelvis to tilt forward so that the corner edge of the right hip or the IT band begins to feel a slight sensation. And this may differ for us or many people. So you can kind of find the range of motion that works best for you. Allowing the knee and toe to pivot forward. Continue to breathe in and out through the nose. And then when you find that sweet and steady composure where you feel the stretch, but you can still hold it, kind of breathe through there. Breathing in and out through the nose. And then again, begin to draw the awareness to the breath towards the pelvis and the hip center. Creating stillness there, but still actively drawing your awareness to it. Take another deep inhale through the nose. As you exhale, you're going to slowly allow the palms to root down, framing that left foot. And you bring the right foot forward to meet the left, coming back into that forward fold. Inhale, belly rises halfway up, just to release the spine. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. And then inhale all the way up to standing, where the arms come up. And then exhale, coming back into Samasthiti. We're going to do that on the other side this time. So it's inhale, both arms up. Exhale, hinging from the hips, fold forward. Inhale, belly rises to a 90-degree, hands press at the shins. And then exhale, planting the palms, stepping the left leg back, coming into that low lunge right away. So you bring the hands to the hips. And then again, knee and toe facing forward. And then again, find the range of motion that works best for you. So there's a yoga sutra that says, Stiram Suram Akasakam, which means sweet and steady composure. So finding the balance between what works best for the body and your fit and function. And that sweet balance where you're holding the posture and you're kind of being conscious of the breath and allowing the breath to still move while you hold the pose of the asana. Find the range of motion and then hold there for a few breaths. I'm going to take a quick step up just to make sure we're doing okay on the screen here. Continuing to breathe in and out through the nose. If I can see you guys, I'd say great job. I'm sure you're doing a great job though. So one more cycle of breath, full inhale. And then as you exhale, slowly plant the palms, framing the right foot this time, stepping the left foot forward to meet the right, coming into that forward fold. Inhale, belly rises halfway up. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way up to standing, arms come up. And then exhale, hands to either side. Awesome, we're gonna do that one more time, but this time including a flow. So we're gonna inhale, both arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, belly rises to a 90-degree angle. Exhale, plant the palms, walk or jump both feet back into your plank position. In plank, take a full inhale. As you exhale, you can lower your weight, either knees, belly, chest, and chin, or simply bending the elbows, coming through chaturanga, upward dog or baby cobra, meeting in downward facing dog. In downward facing dog, we're gonna go hold here for 3 breaths. Breathing in and out through the nose. One more breath here. On your next inhale, you'll lift the right leg up, point the toes towards the sky. Really feel the stretch along the front quad or the front thigh. So the thighs are engaged. Full inhale here. As you exhale, this time you're gonna bring the right foot forward and the toes are gonna come behind the right wrist, sorry. Draw the knee down, so you're coming into that low lunge again. We're just coming into a wider stance and we're gonna pivot the toes outwards into a 45-degree angle. So we're still targeting the hips, but we're accessing it in a different angle. allowing the knee to track over the ankle and the knee going in the same direction as the toes. If this feels uncomfortable for the outer hip or the IT band or even the knee, you can continue to have the toes face forward and allow the knee to track in the same direction as the toes. But if it feels comfortable for you, allow the toes to slightly angle. Continuing to breathe in and out through the nose. And then when you find that sweet, steady composure, kind of hold there. A couple options for the hands. Hands can stay at the hips, or the hands can come down. Bringing the hands down will deepen the posture. You might feel a little bit more in the corner edges of the hips. So you can kind of play with it, hold there. We're here for 2 more breaths. Full inhale, exhale through the nose. Allow the breath to continue to move as fluid as possible. 1 more breath. Very slowly and gently curl the back left toes if they're not already curled. Draw the toes and knees forward of that right leg first before stepping that right foot back into plank. Full inhale and plank, and then again, descending your way. Meeting an upward or downward facing dog, sorry. In downward facing dog, we're going to take 3 breaths again. Breathing in and out through the nose. As these postures are a lot slower, you can actually allow yourself to come into downward facing dog a little bit more with every breath. So really root down to the palms. Allow the tailbone to reach up through the sky. Abdomen draws in for 1 more breath. On your next inhale, this time we're going to lift the left leg up to the sky, point the toes. And then slowly and gently as you exhale, left toes come behind the left wrist this time. So again, descending the knee, this time the right, coming into that low lunge. We're familiar with the posture a little bit more now, so we're going to allow the toes to pivot out, maybe even off of your mat. And allow the knee to track over the toes. Kind of find your own sweet and steady composure and hold there for a few breaths. Maybe on the other side, since there was a sense of comfort because we were knowing what was happening next, you can kind of begin to fall into that sense of awareness with your breath a little bit more easily. And then actively focus as if you were drawing the breath towards the pelvis. Now, can you imagine that color red that I mentioned earlier? Can you imagine as if it was engulfing the entire pelvis or hip area? Take 1 more cycle of breath. Full inhale. And then as you exhale, curl the back of the right toes, left foot steps back, coming into your vinyasa. So cycling through as you wish, meaning in downward facing dog. In downward facing dog, we're going to take 1 cycle of breath here. So full inhale through the nose. As you exhale, you're going to look forward in between the palms, walk or jump, both feet forward. Inhale, hands to the shins, belly rises halfway up. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way up to standing arms, come up. And then exhale, hands to either side. Awesome. So a very slow flow here, a little bit more methodical, but kind of allowing you to get into those postures and kind of really breathe through the hips and pelvis. We're gonna do that 1 more time. We're gonna inhale, lift both arms up. As you exhale, hands from the hips, fold forward. Inhale, belly rises to a 90-degree angle. Exhale, fold, walk or jump, both feet back into your plank. Cycle through your flow. Always giving yourself the option of a modified vinyasa or straight into chaturanga, meaning in downward facing dog. In downward facing dog, you're going to take a full cycle of breath. Deep inhale, deep exhale. On your next inhale, you're going to lift that right leg up to the sky, coming into 3-legged dog. Full inhale here. As you exhale, draw that right foot forward in between both palms. From here, you're gonna come into a high lunge. So inhale, both arms up. As you exhale, bring the hands to the hips. So from here, you're kind of in this high lunge position. You're just gonna bring more depth into the front right thigh. So if it's available, bringing it into a 90-degree angle. There can be a slight micro bend in the back knee as well. And you're just gonna pulse here for 5, for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Root both heels down, come into warrior 1. Full cycle of breath. And then on your next inhale, opening up through warrior 2. So keeping that depth in the right thigh, creating heat. As the knee bone, the femur bone kind of draws back towards that corner edge of the hip or pelvis. The arms reach out to either side of the room. And there's a firm foundation on both feet. So imagine that both feet are actively rooting into the earth and you're drawing the energy up through the hips. Full cycle of breath here, deep inhale. As you exhale, you're going to windmill the arms around, framing that right foot, stepping the right foot back, and then cycling through your flow. Leaning in downward facing dog. Downward facing dog, take a full inhale, exhale through the nose. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So when you're ready, coming into three-legged dog on the left side, full inhale. As you exhale, left foot comes forward into your high lunge. Inhaling there. So again, drawing as much depth as you can with the thigh. Slight micro bend in the back leg. Hands can stay at the hips. And then your runner's lunge, you're just going to pulse again for 5, for 4. Breathing in and out through the nose for 3, for 2, for 1. Rooting both heels, coming into warrior 1. Full cycle of breath. And then as you exhale, opening up through warrior 2. So adjusting the feet as needed again to find the stability and balance that works for your feet. Outer edge of the back foot is rooted, drawing the strength through the soles of the feet as you root down through the toes, feeling the charge in the thighs, and then concentrating that energy in the pelvis. Arms reach out to either side, find a steady gaze, maybe try to smile. Full inhale. And then as you exhale, windmill the arms around, stepping that left foot back, cycling through your flow. Meeting in downward facing dog. And downward facing dog, take a full cycle of breath, full inhale. Exhale through the nose. On your next breath, you're going to draw the knees down and come into a tabletop position. You're going to take a full inhale here, full exhale. Draw the awareness now towards the low back or the low spine, towards the tailbone. And can you imagine that you're breathing into that space? Belly button draws in with every exhale, almost as if you're forcing the little air you have left with every exhale out. One more cycle of breath here. On your next inhale, you're going to bring the right foot forward in between both palms. So you're in that low lunge again. We're going to come into lizard pose. So you can actually widen the stance here, which I quite suggest. So bring the outer edge of the right foot to the right edge of your mat, or just bring it a nice distance apart to allow room for the torso to drape down. The back leg may move back slightly, so drawing the knee back. And then from here, you're going to root the palms down into your mat. And if it's accessible for you, finding full lizard, you can come into bringing the forearms to the earth. Fingertips facing forward, palms rooting down. And if you want even more depth, maybe you bring the palms on top of each other, and then the forehead will rest on top of the hands. So play around with it. It'll be a very intense sensation, perhaps in that corner of the hip that we were working earlier. So kind of just breathe through it. And it's always interesting what happens to the thoughts when we're in a posture. Like, how much longer am I holding this for? Am I breathing right? And this doesn't feel great, or maybe it does. And just kind of every time that thought wanders, just bring it back to your inhale and exhale. Maybe actively telling yourself in your mind that you're actively inhaling and exhaling, as silly as that sounds, but you're consciously making your mind focus on your breath with a little guidance. One more breath here. We're going to slowly begin to get out of lizard. From this point forward, vinyasa cycles or flows are completely optional as you begin to cool down the body. You can cycle through them and I'll allow time for that. Or you can always skip it and go into downward facing dog or child's pose. So when you're ready, rooting through the palms, stepping that right foot back into plank. And then again, optional flow, meaning in downward facing dog. In downward facing dog, take a full cycle of breath, full inhale, exhale through the nose. On your next breath, left foot is going to come forward in between both palms, coming into that low lunge again. Widening your stance right away so that the left foot comes out. Palms towards the inside of the left foot. And then again, finding the depth and range of motion that works for you. Acknowledging that maybe one side feels different than the other, and that's completely okay. We always have this subtle expectation that we expect our bodies to operate like machines or perform the exact same way every day, and we don't do the exact same thing every day, so it's kind of a silly expectation. Breathe in and out through the nose. Draw that awareness again to the low back, the tailbone. And as the tailbone kind of hovers over the pelvis area, engulfing that area and actively imagining that your breath is going into that space. 2 more breaths here. Breathing in and out through the nose. And then when you're ready, slowly coming out of the depth you were in that posture. And then again, cycling through a flow or completely skipping it. And then going into downward facing dog or child's pose at this point. In downward facing dog, take a full cycle of breath. If you're in child's pose, continue to breathe. And then on your next inhale, you're going to look forward in between the palms. Walk or jump both feet forward. Come into your forward fold, head hanging heavy. And then inhale halfway up. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way up to standing. Arms come up. And then exhale, hands to either side. Awesome. We're going to come into a nice wide stance here. So you're going to step far back with the right leg, kind of pivot the toes, allow them to face forward. So you're in a nice wide-legged stance. We're going to come into a wide-legged forward fold. So really root down through the outer edges of the feet. You can draw the hands to the hips here. Draw the belly in. Full inhale. As you exhale, abdomen draws in still as you begin to hinge forward from the hips. And then from here, you can keep the hands at the hips, the elbows kind of actively drawing to either side of the room so that the chest is still nice and open. Or if you'd like to deepen the posture, you can actually bring the hands to the outer shins. You can clasp onto the outer feet, outer edges of the feet. Or even use the peace fingers of the hands to clasp on to the big toe. So lots of hand options here to kind of play around with the depth. You're more than welcome to bend and have a slight micro bend in the knees to alleviate sensations in the hamstrings. And this posture is kind of fun because it'll evolve as you move with it over time. So you can widen the stance. You can get the top of the head lower to the earth. Or you can kind of draw the feet closer together and fold this way, kind of as if you were preparing yourself for a handstand. So again, play around with the foot position and hand position that works best for you. And then when you find that sweet, steady composure again, Allow the back of the neck to be nice and long, head hanging heavy. We're going to be here for 3 long inhales and exhales. Really drawing the awareness towards the pelvis. And if Uddiyana Bandha is in your practice, you can go ahead and access that now. Continuing to breathe in and out the nose. One more breath here. Ensuring that as you begin to come up, it's on your next inhale, slowly and gently gliding the hands to the hips and then inhaling all the way up. Allow the toes to pivot forward and slowly right leg meets the left, coming into that equal standing posture. We're going to do one more flow here to end our standing series. You're welcome to join in or completely skip it and meet us sitting down on the earth. But if not, join in. Inhale, both arms come up, and as you exhale, hands to the shins as the belly rises halfway up. As you plant the palms to the earth, you can walk or jump both feet back into plank, and then cycling through whichever flow works best for you. And this time, meeting in child's pose. So knees nice and wide, perhaps on the edges of the mat. Arms right in front of you, and then the torso drapes in between the thighs. So coming into that posture that we started class in, and maybe doing a quick little assessment. Notice how the hips feel now compared to the beginning of class. Can you actively, almost intuitively draw your breath right away towards your hips? Imagine as if the breath was filling the space of the pelvis or the hip area, and of allowing it to soften with every exhale. I'm going to be here for 2 more breaths. Breathing in and out through the nose. One more breath here. And then slowly, there's no fancy way to do this. You're just going to inhale and rest your body on one side of the hips, and then slowly bring your legs forward. Give your legs a nice little shake here. And from here, you're going to inhale, arms parallel to the earth, and then exhale, hinge forward, draping over the thighs. So similar as to our forward fold or Uttanasana in our standing series, we always have a forward fold in our seated series because it kind of changes the dynamic of the muscles along the low back. So you're more than welcome to bend the knees and allow to alleviate the hamstrings, which will naturally draw the torso forward. Loosening the psoas muscle. And while you're in this posture, just allow your breath again to go back to the base of the spine and the hip area, engulfing that space with imagery, perhaps of a flaming red fire or this simple color red. 2 more breaths here. Breathing in and out through the nose. 1 more breath. And then as you exhale, unhinge, unwind. You're going to slowly bring one sole of the foot to the inside of the thigh. So you can bring the right foot first. Right sole of the foot resting on the inner left thigh. We're going to come into that forward fold again. You're going to inhale, arms parallel. And then as you exhale, draping over that left thigh. And it has a very subtle and gentle twist, almost as if the abdomen or the belly button was trying to touch the top of the thigh. So that kind of the hips or the left hip will tilt back and the right hip will tilt forward slightly. So ever so gently, it draws the hips into alignment. Noticing that your body moves as a whole. So notice where your shoulders are in space. Notice how your body compensates one over the other. So kind of draw them in line. And then maybe over time, your elbows draw down, almost as if forehead and knee would touch one day. One more cycle of breath here. And then as you exhale, unhinge, unwind. We get to do the exact same thing on the left side. So right leg comes nice and long. Inside of the left sole of the foot comes to the inside of the right thigh. And then from here, as you inhale, arms come parallel, and exhale, draping over that right thigh, finding that very subtle twist again. And as you do the second side, almost instinctively going back to that conscious movement of your breath. Sometimes when we hold these postures, we want to get into a certain expectation that we think our body should be in. We begin to strain the breath, and the breath shortens. And with the breath shortens, it instinctively reacts or ignites our flight or fight response. So our breath becomes shallow, our mind races. So kind of just allowing those subtleties to soften. One more breath here. And then on your exhale, unhinge, unwind. Awesome. We're going to bring both legs nice and long, give them a nice little stretch here. I'm going to turn to face you, although you can stay in the exact same position that you're in. You're going to bring both soles of the feet to touch, allowing the knees to kind of fall open to either side of the room. We're mimicking butterfly wings with the legs. And then from here, you can grab on to the front of the shins, take a full inhale, and then as you exhale, you're going to hinge over the feet, and then you can actually grab on to the tops of the feet, and rooting down through the outer edges of the feet, you can open up the soles as if you're opening up a book. If you'd like, you can kind of press the thumb in between through the sole of the foot, kind of activating the arches. This is really nice to do at the beginning of class as well, kind of to draw more of an awareness to the soles of your feet as you're practicing. And then again, if you are into the practice of bandhas, you can ignite the bandha through your pelvis region at this point. And then as you exhale, you can begin to hinge forward even more. Almost as if one day the forehead was resting in between the soles of both feet. And acknowledge that the chin will tuck into the chest here and the breath will become compressed. Use that as encouragement to actively focus on your breath and draw the awareness of that breath into that low back space. One more inhale here. And then as you exhale, unhinge, unwind. Crown of the head reaches up to the side. You're going to bring both knees in towards the center of the midline of the body and just kind of windshield wiper them from side to side. That being a yoga term. Just kidding. It's not a yoga term at all. They're just windshield wipers. And that's my joke for the day. And then when you're ready, you're going to bring the knees to center, over to the right and hold. Pressing through the palms behind you. If it's available, you can look over to your left. Hold here for a full cycle of breath. Full inhale. As you exhale, draw the knees to center and then over to the left. Again, if it's available for your neck, looking over to the right. On your exhale, draw the knees to center and then slowly make your way down into a laying down position. Not Shavasana just yet. We're just going to actively do a passive inversion, we're going to do a passive inversion. If headstands is in your practice and you can actively access headstands in the comfort of your own home without getting injured, you are welcome to do that. Although my instructions will just be for a passive inversion. So you'll bring the hands to either side of the body, palms facing down, and then very slowly just bring both legs up to the sky. So I like to start off with the legs at a 90-degree angle. because it allows me to draw the awareness to the corner edges of my hips. And you draw the hips down so that we're kind of in a neutral space here. The abdomen may become slightly engaged. Shoulder blades are rooted, and then with the palms, use them as leverage to slowly just draw the feet up towards the sky. So this kind of allows gravity to flow in the opposite direction, which, going back to that flight or fight response, is actually calming for our nervous system. I always thought it'd be really cool if we were able to do this in the workplace, but I don't think that's an option. Unless you work from home. A couple more breaths here. In and out through the nose. And then at this point, if there's a posture that I didn't teach in today's class that you feel is still calling your name, you can go ahead and access that posture now. If not, we'll slowly begin to assemble into Shavasana or corpse pose. And the cool thing about the Sanskrit names to the postures or the asanas is that they have a direct translation to the essence or the dharma of what the posture entails. So it's known as corpse pose, which means you consciously bring stillness to the body. Kind of as if you go into a dreamlike state, yet consciously awake. Continuing to breathe in and out through the nose. And kind of letting gravity dissolve and soften the muscles. Almost as if they were melting away from the bone structure. You are more than welcome to stay in this posture for as long as you'd like. I usually like to end class with a brief meditation, which you can access if you'd like, laying down or sitting upright. So you have those options if you want to join in, or you can simply continue to lay in Shavasana, honoring whatever works best for your body. If you're joining in on the meditation component, you can roll over to your right side and kind of let the right side body rest towards the earth for a cycle of breath. And then ever so gently using the right palm to press yourself, the left palm to press yourself up and bring your way up to a seated position. You can allow the legs to be crossed if that's comfortable for you, or if there's too much sensation in the hips, you can bring the feet back into a butterfly pose if that feels better. Your choice. Keeping the eyes still soft here, maybe even closed. Just allow the palms to kind of rest down over the knees. And then feel a sense of elongation along the spine from top to bottom. Almost as if the base of the spine is beginning to plug into the earth. Kind of in your mind's eye, imagining that the soil from the earth was wrapping around the pelvis and creating a sense of heat or warmth. And then in these next few breaths, you can kind of begin to imagine that color red again in the center of the pelvis, along the base of the spine, and just breathing into that space, igniting that sense of heat through the color red. And maybe in your next couple breaths, imagining that that red was sparking up
along the spine all the way to the crown of the head. And then all the way from the crown of the head, rooting back through the spine, through the cervical, the upper, thoracic, and mid, all the way to the lumbar and low back, through the sacrum and the tailbone. Rooting down through the hips. You can allow your exhales to be slightly forced here. Abdomen drawn in. Again, you're more than welcome to stay here for as long as you'd like in Shavasana or in the meditation posture, whichever one you've chosen. And then when you're ready, you can slowly begin to open up the eyes. Thank you so much for joining. It's always fun to guide you virtually. It's an adjustment, but it's fun. Remember that class starts every Tuesday at 3:30 and Wednesdays at 11. It's always super awesome if you're able to tune in a couple minutes before, just so that we can kind of get the full 45 minutes of class. I always kind of give a little brief introduction of what we'll be doing and if there's any equipment needed. So it's always awesome if we tune in before. Aside from that, enjoy the rest of your day. Please stay hydrated. If you have any questions or comments, I'll stick around for a little bit in the chat. You're more than welcome to ask questions about the Chakra series if you'd like. But if not, enjoy the rest of your day and namaste.